Look at that. It's Friday. Time for some good AI fun, AI mistakes. Boy, has it been an incredibly busy week. Got a lot going on. Got a lot going on with me personally. Really amazing things are happening in the world of AI. It has been nonstop announcements this week. And so we're going to talk about some of the amazing things that are going on right now with AI. I want you to know that these are so amazing. The utility and the value that we're getting out of these large language models is absolutely incredible. And I feel like a kid in the candy store, if I'm honest, right? Because I get to pick and choose which AI solution I want to use at any given time, playing with Gemini and ChatGPT and all of the solutions that are out there. And I was really impressed. Nvidia dropped a new solution this week. It's called Chat with RTX. I've had a chance to install that on one of my computers. I'm trying to install it right now on a second one so that I can give you a demo. The demo gods might smile on us today, and if they don't, I've got a backup plan, but we're going to try it and see how it goes. I've had a chance to play with it already on one of my systems. It also happens to be the system that I'm using for bringing this video to you live. So we may have to try it out on that and see how it goes. And then I also learned this week about a new solution called Lepton, which is basically an open source clone of Perplexity that I think is kind of interesting. And so if you're into application development, you want to understand how some of these things work, maybe you want to build a solution of your own, that's really cool because the GitHub repository is totally open and available. Really, really exciting developments this week. So let's just dive into these a little bit and talk through some of the big issues that have come out this week. I'm particularly excited about the inertia that Google has. If I'm quite honest, look, I really feel like with Google, the amazing thing is that they have done an incredible amount of research and they have contributed to the research space across all of their various brands and research arms. Look, they acquired DeepMind, they have their Google Brain, they have their Google AI. They are doing all sorts of development and work. And I think we're starting to see that from a consumer perspective with what we saw over the last couple of weeks. I had a chance to get access to the new Gemini Advanced using the Ultra 1.0 model. And I've been using that consistently over the last week, but I got a chance to get in and play with it a little bit. I searched through my email and found that to be pretty valuable. The responses I'm getting out of Gemini have been very much competitive and comparative to some of the other solutions. And so today, for example, in putting all of this together, I was kind of dancing around and using all of the various solutions. And I've even found that Gemini has really dramatically improved over the last week. It looks like the team behind Gemini is actively making changes to drive Gemini to be less resistant to the requests that you're making, to be a little more consistent in the responses. And so, I mean, look, there's a ton of choices that we all have. And, pretty much all of these have some component of payment involved. Of course, open source being the special exception. And we've talked about that here on the channel in the past. I'm really excited about some of the things that are happening with open source. And when you can mix and match these solutions, you can do some really amazing things. I had a chance to work on some application development this week, and I went over to Google Cloud and I used some of their solution and connected into the Perplexity API, and I used some of their solution, which of course I'm actually using that with Mixtral on the back end. And I was really pleased with the results I was getting. And, using Perplexity to provide that API also meant that the cloud compute was driving that response very quickly. And I think that's really the big distinction between all of these solutions that you see here on the page versus open source, because when you're using an open source option on your own equipment, you are limited by how good that GPU is or that CPU is on your system. And I think, look, we're spoiled by cloud computing, to be quite honest. And with all of the solutions that are out there for development and writing documents, generating imagery, there is a distinction between having all of that GPU available to use and trying to do it all on your local system. When you want to live off the land, there's nothing like that local solution, knowing that you don't have to work with somebody else, you don't have to use an API. That can be a good thing too. But if you're building something, there's nothing like being able to call an API, get an instant result, and validate that proof of concept or that idea that you have. So I wanted to talk through, just share with you a little bit what my experiences are, kind of talk you through the various choices that are available today. I think we have some really competitive offerings that are available. And really, we're just at the very beginning of the year. I think there's going to be a lot more activity, a lot more competition, a lot more choice. I think your use of location and the kind of task that you're trying to perform is going to play a major role. But also, there's some other factors that you need to consider. And I wanted to just kind of put that out in the open. I think the first decision that could drive what tool you are going to use is this question of where are your files. Now, in my case, I got to be honest with you, I've got local files that aren't in any kind of cloud storage. I've got files that are in OneDrive. In fact, my whole family is using OneDrive, and I actually use that to help with some of my family members because I'm helping them with problems all the time. And so I've loaded them onto OneDrive just to make my life easier, because if something gets infected or we need to do a reinstall, I can be confident that those files are safe in OneDrive and I can help them with a computer restore. Then, of course, there's Google and their ecosystem. And I've been a Gmail user from the very early days. I'll be honest, I'm not a heavy Google Docs and spreadsheets user. I get a lot of files from people that I work with because it is a free solution. So it's a very popular choice. And then my kids, when they go to school, the school district has selected Google for all of their workspace solutions. So the kids actually get, in some cases, a very small amount of storage, but they are using all of that Google ecosystem for creating their presentations and their documents. And then, of course, Gmail behind the scenes. And look, I mean, I have been in environments where Microsoft really is the king, especially in the enterprise. There is nothing like Outlook for managing all of your contacts and calendars. Email is a thing that really matters a lot, and Outlook has very, very deep integration with that entire ecosystem. It's kind of funny. In my first job, I was working at an indigent care clinic, and I could never figure out why so many people insisted on running Outlook all the time, because it used up so much of the memory on the PC. But having been in a role where that communication is key and the calendar is essential and the contacts are incredibly valuable, Outlook has been the solution for a very long time. We're finally getting to a point where other solutions and Google are competitive. I do think that Google's made some tremendous progress. Their calendar offering, as well as their Google Meet for video, is very interesting. Well, in my view, it's definitely not at the level of Zoom, but look, it's absolutely possible. And I've selected Google Workspaces for doing some of the solutions for me and AI mistakes in particular. But if you are married to one of these solutions, look, you want to use Copilot with OneDrive. If all of your files are already there, Copilot is continually adding new capabilities that tie in to using those files. Now, I talked through a competition really between Google Workspaces and Copilot last week, and did sort of a bake-off between creating documents. And one of the things that I've come to understand since I did that video is that actually Copilot for the enterprise class allows document integration. So you can actually reference a document when you build a presentation. And that's not something that's available to me with the personal subscription. I have not canceled Copilot yet. I'm still on the list for a month. I'm really looking hard at that solution. I think it has some value for me in creating presentations. But look, if it's $20 a month, I've got to get a lot of value at it for it to be incremental, because other solutions like ChatGPT and Gemini are pretty compelling. And it may be just a copy and a paste away is really the solution here. But if you are deeply into the Google ecosystem, I will tell you, full disclosure, I canceled the Google Workspaces AI add-on. I really didn't feel the value in using that in Google Sheets, in Google Slides, and Google Documents. But the Google Gemini solution that I signed up for on the other Google account that I have has been really worth the value. I'm really excited about Gemini and very pleased with the results that I'm getting out of that. And then, of course, this week, Google dropped their Nvidia chat with, look, as I speak, here it is. And I finally got it to install on the system. So we're going to have a good demo today. Chat with RTX. And of course, very early in the game, this is brand new this week. And I will share with you, the installer for this guy is 35 gigabytes because the Mistral 7B installation is very large. And then the rest of the files are very large as well. I'm going to launch this in the background. It's probably going to pop up while we're talking here, but then I can actually go through and demo that for you as we get later on in the presentation. I'm really excited about the chat with RTX solution because NVIDIA has some optimizations that they can do at the hardware level that we're just not going to get out of other solutions like GPT for All or LM Studio. I am an active user of both of those capabilities. If you're not already aware, the GPT for All video that I created probably middle of last year has done very well. And it's brought a lot of you to the channel. So if you are not new to the channel, thanks for being here. I'm really glad to have you join us. I think you'll be very interested in the chat with RTX. So make sure you stick around for that later in the discussion today. But I think this is really the first question we need to ask ourselves. Where are the files that matter to you? If you're using Cloud Sync across any of these solutions, that has to be a factor. And then, look, if you want to keep everything local, you can't argue with the local solution. I'm also really excited about the built-in RAG capabilities that are in the NVIDIA solution. RAG meaning the retrieval augmented generation. That was what really kickstarted the GPT for All local docs, because you could load up your entire catalog of local documents, and the large language model response will include tidbits that come from those files. And of course, retrieval augmented generation is a major capability because it allows you to ask questions of your documents and get sourced information from those documents. That helps to really reduce the hallucination issue that we are seeing frequently with these large language models. I personally believe that even with the hallucination issues in these large language models, there's a lot of value that we can get out of using them. And that hallucination shouldn't stop you from using them at all, but you do have to be aware of what's going to happen. So this question of what services you're already using is really the paramount decision that we have to make. And of course, in my case, that's a harder decision because what I'm looking at is across the board. I use all of them. So it's much more difficult for me to decide exactly where I want to be. It's entirely possible that I wind up with multiple solutions because I'm using them in different ways. And that's not the only factor, though. There's more to it than that. I think the next question we need to ask is, what kind of work are you doing? Are you doing computer programming and application development? Because I think that's going to change the answer that you get. One of the things I've been really impressed with is ChatGPT's analytics capability. One of the things that is going on in the information technology space is using data to develop these AI solutions, to really create solutions that rely upon a large data set. And there has been a lot of work and energy put into developing this idea of a data scientist. That's the person with the role of actually maintaining the data, building AI models, and using that information to build models and create insights. If that's the kind of work that you're doing, the data analytics capability in ChatGPT is pretty amazing. Now, one of the challenges that we've had with ChatGPT is this problem of laziness, where we've actually given it a prompt and asked it to develop a solution, and it's been a little reticent to actually write code lately. This has been a pervasive problem, so much so that even OpenAI have admitted that there's a degree of laziness to asking it to write some code, and it tells you how you should go about doing that yourself instead of actually writing the code. And I don't think anybody really wants that, because there is a tremendous amount of value that comes out of having a large language model write software for you. So I think if you're in that computer programming space, it really does bear some deep looking. We know about Microsoft's Copilot offering that plugs into their Microsoft Office capabilities and sits on the desktop. That is really exciting, but we haven't talked about GitHub Copilot in a little while, and even Amazon has a code writing assistant capability that is out there. In fact, actually this week, Apple announced, in fact, I saw the announcement just a few hours ago, Apple is now releasing a Copilot coding assistant capability for their coding solutions. I really think that this is a huge capability. If you are writing code and you have not found a way to use AI generated text and programming code, you are really missing out. The amount of code that I've been able to write over the last 12 to 14 months is really amazing. Most of the coding that I've written over the last several years has been really pointed at proof of concept work for work, and playing around with my IoT and electronics at home. All of that's really a large degree. I still do some C coding that is flashed at the firmware level, but most of the coding that I do from a leisure perspective, almost all of that now, I'm finding AI generated code helps me with that. And that's a real value to me, because I'm not coding all day, every day. So I am a little rusty in terms of remembering exactly how to do things. It's very helpful to have the AI assistant, because I can write what it is that I'd like to do. It will generate the code, and then I can update that and change it. I know what I want to do with the code, and not having to do the back and forth flipping to sites that do code sharing has been a tremendous advantage for me. So if you are doing computer programming, I really think your money is best spent on a solution like GitHub Copilot. There are a lot of open source alternatives to this. There is a Llama solution that uses a recent model that was released called Code Llama that writes very good code. If you're not sure where to start and you don't want to spend any money, that may be a great place for you to start and get your hands dirty with the technology. But you can't argue with having the integration in Visual Studio Code of Copilot. I really love how they have integrated that. You can do a chat window, you can do comment-based insertion, and it's really wonderful. I use Visual Studio Code a lot, so it's where I'm already doing the work. It does cost money, but it's been well worth the expense for me. And of course, I'm trying all of these things out. My view of the world is, even having multiple solutions that I sign up for to pay for, the productivity increase that I'm getting out of it is well worth the cost. $240 a year for the AI solutions that I'm using has really allowed me to get a lot more work done without having to hire someone to assist me. So there is a real trade-off to those kinds of decisions. So for the rest of these presentations, documents, spreadsheets, you can use any of these large language models to produce that content. And then if you know what you're doing, it's easy to translate those answers into the documents. But what I'm excited about with Copilot is that you can do it in the session. You can tell PowerPoint, I'd like to build a presentation about this, and it will actually go and create that for you. Now, I have found Copilot to be a little bit on the stodgy side. It tells me it can't do what I want a lot. So I think there is some reticence there on my part, because it's not as fully baked as I'd really like it to be. I do like what I see in Microsoft Word, because it's really building nice documents and doing the formatting for me. ChatGPT will generate things in Markdown a lot, and if somebody knows a good way to transfer that Markdown into a document, let me hear from you. I haven't found a great way to do that yet. I could probably write a macro for it, but I haven't gone as far as doing that. That is one of the things that I like less about the copy and paste, and that really is the case across Gemini, Perplexity, and ChatGPT. They all have a Markdown formatting in there. That's where if you have a heading, there's 2 hash marks to make it large. that's a symbology in Markdown to handle the formatting. But if you're not displaying that Markdown as generated information, you get the raw syntax included in the document. You have to do a find and replace. So that's a little less than I'd like. And also for the spreadsheets, actually the spreadsheets are an interesting thing. Google and Microsoft have done very different um, perspectives on working with a spreadsheet. Google will let you generate spreadsheets that do things like manage tasks, and it's actually very mature. I think Google is actually a little bit ahead on the spreadsheet side of things. If you want to do a spreadsheet with Excel, two requirements have to be fulfilled. It's still in preview, and you have to save the document in your OneDrive, or it won't let you use Copilot at all. I was a little surprised to discover that this week when I was playing with it and finishing up my evaluation of Google Workspaces. And then when you are trying to do something in Excel, it won't do anything other than let you manipulate data in a table. So that's kind of an interesting edge case where Microsoft just hasn't fully baked that solution yet. So there's definitely across the board a lot of development and changes that are still pending. And if you're doing a lot of spreadsheet work, you might find that ChatGPT with that data analytics capability is actually better for you, because you can upload a CSV and let ChatGPT do all of the data management for you. There are, of course, also plugins for Google Spreadsheets that will let you more deeply integrate the AI, do some AI API calls to the likes of GPT-4 and other large language models. So if you are looking at spreadsheets, I think you're in for a hard time, because there's some very specific use cases that are going to turn out better or worse. And then the last two bullets here are really critical. And I want to talk about video extensively today because of the announcement that OpenAI made this week. If you are generating images, I still really love Midjourney. The results that I get out of Midjourney are really phenomenal. They have not slowed down on their development cycle. They're on version 6 now, and they've still got version 5.1 and 5.2 available. So you can pick between a variety of different solutions, and they've got some other optimizations and capabilities that are built into Midjourney that I'm not seeing as much of that in the use with ChatGPT doing Dolly or Gemini using ImageN. I've been very impressed with the image quality coming out of Gemini. They've integrated into Bard, and now Gemini, the image generation model, really great results coming out. So if you're just doing images, it may depend fully on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. If you want to do more of a fire and forget, Gemini's implementation is really stupid simple. In fact, there is a little bit of a learning curve with Midjourney, I think, because there's, you have to get Discord going. They haven't fully made the front end solution for that work yet. It's integrated into the chat session, so it's very easy for you to get in there and say, create me an image of something. The same is true with ChatGPT. I do find that ChatGPT kind of goes a little too far, a little too complex with the image generation sometimes. Sometimes they just want something that's simple. The image behind me, again, is a generation that came out of Midjourney, and it's beautiful. I mean, I asked for a road on a mountainside with clouds, and it did it. Sure, it's not perfect, but man, it's harder for me to get that kind of imagery out of Dolly. And I can tell you, though, that using Microsoft Creator, they do have the ability to generate this. Sometimes it's a little unclear how much is Dolly and how much is not in in Microsoft's Creator. I've been using Microsoft Creator for quite a long time because it's just really easy, and they allow you to build things on top of it. That's one of the advantages with the Microsoft option versus even Gemini and Midjourney, because both of those solutions are you get the image and that's what you get. Microsoft has this editing environment that sits on top of it that lets you quickly edit it. And what I haven't shown off at all on the channel, and maybe this is something I need to consider for a future edition, I now have the Adobe Cloud Suite, and Firefly is doing some pretty amazing work. I've been very impressed with the results that are coming out of that. And of course, they have all of the editing suite across Photoshop. They have their solution that is all entirely web-based. So you may not even have to install software in order to use it. And they're also available on the mobile platform. So you can do that wherever you are. So images, I think, are an interesting scenario. I think if that's not your primary use case, then again, it follows, what are you trying to do? If you're building presentations, you're going to need images for those presentations, but you really want more an image than a particular kind of image. And you can really leverage that. Where is your ecosystem? Where is your provider? Where are your documents? I think there's a lot of affinity that you can use for driving what solution you're going to adopt. But video is really interesting because this week OpenAI has announced an entirely new solution, and there's a lot of excitement. Now, the catch with this announcement this week is that it is not available for us to play with yet. We've only been given a preview of the solution, but it is very interesting. It's called Sora, and it is a text to video solution. And they have provided a preview. What's really amazing about Sora is that these videos are close to a minute long. All of the solutions thus far have been shorter than that. Runway ML will let you build things that are longer, but look at the detail. I'm very impressed with these results. Obviously, it is AI generated video, but I got to tell you, it's really hard for me to find any artifacts in here that are inconsistent. And the quality of this woman walking down the street is absolutely startling. There are a number of other videos in here. This one is the historical footage of California during the gold rush. I mean, this is stunning, everybody. This makes me speechless, quite honestly. This is movie quality generation. And when I wrote in the newsletter back in December that we would see a full-length movie that uses generated video, this is pretty much exactly what I had in mind. I mean, think about what it would take to shoot a shot with all of these extras in a place, taking over a city or having to build a city to make a shot like this. The amount of labor and cost that would go into making a composite shot like this. And this is just B-roll. Like, we're not even talking about the inclusion of actors. You could make an incredible scene just by using this to give people the idea of where you are, and then go to your typical on the set production. This is just jaw-dropping, quite honestly. This one is interesting too. And some of the discussion that I saw on Twitter this week was, taking video like this and imagining, are we looking at a future where we're not building gaming engines anymore, but it's actually a large language model that is integrated with your gaming experience? So this is, again, incredible results. Now, you have to take video like this with a grain of salt. We've seen a lot of times that these kinds of results are very much cherry picked. They are choosing the absolute best generations. We don't have any idea how long they've had this solution, how much generation it took to get to this level of maturity. Look, I think I have sort of the generation curse, because it seems like whatever I try to generate, the results are just not at the level of quality that I'm looking for. And, it's kind of interesting. Like, this is a great example. I can't tell you. I don't think this is even how a treadmill works. So some of this you can kind of see it's generated because it's nonsensical, right? There's no system that works this way. You don't run backwards on a treadmill, but here we are. But really startling video. I'm just blown away with what we're looking at here. The consistency of the output is just jaw-dropping. And so I had to share this with you this week. So video, I think, is really the noted exception. If you're thinking about doing video, honestly, my opinion today is build everything else that you need to figure out what you want to generate. Spend your time developing the idea and composing the ecosystem around that image generation, because I really think the Sora development that OpenAI has developed, it is just, it's going to be hard for anybody else to compete with that, to be totally honest. Who knows what they're going to charge for a solution like this, what kind of compute is going to be necessary. But honestly, it's really giving Runway ML and Pika a run for their money, or Pika. I'm actually not sure how you pronounce that. I played with Pika a little bit. It does 3 seconds. Runway ML has the brush painting that we've talked about before. That's a 5-second solution. And one of my colleagues on LinkedIn actually created an entire motion video covering the family of one of his, the history of one of his family members, and really created a mini video archiving the story of his ancestor using those shot-to-shot things. So a mini movie. These things are being built and people are working on these things. So fascinating capabilities are coming our way. If you're in video, make sure you pay attention to what's happening with Sora. I think the thing that the real takeaway here is that we are moving into a new paradigm for AI generative models on a personal level. You're going to be able to make more decisions about how you want to use these solutions. You're going to have more opportunity to integrate it into the way that you work. And there's definitely going to be more solutions that are tuned to specific use cases. We've seen a lot of startups have been very busy building these capabilities and really bringing that AI directly into your workflow. So I want to point out that if you aren't tied to these existing ecosystems with Microsoft and Google, you might really want to give some serious thought to looking outside of those ecosystems and considering some alternatives. One of the alternatives that I've really enjoyed using is Gamma for presentations. You've seen me use that here before. And if you're creating presentations, make sure you give that a look, because I think there's some real capabilities there. I'll just pull up Gamma here real quick. You can start using it for free, and it's a great way to jumpstart your solution. You can give it some very basic instructions, and it will generate the entire presentation for you. Really a fascinating solution, and I think it's far more mature than even the Copilot solution that that Microsoft has integrated into PowerPoint, because it's so easy to use. I think for me, one of the decisions I need to make in terms of what I am building is what's more important, right? The writing of documents or the creating of presentations, because I think Gamma has it hands down today for generating presentations. But let's dive into the world of demonstrations, because I'm really excited about some of the developments that we've seen this week, and I want to share each of them with you. So I've got Google here, and if you haven't customized your Google start page, boy, I've been really enjoying the picture background. You can do an AI customization of these. I've actually left the AI-based, the generative art, and instead I'm just using the theme that they're managing. But boy, some great images they're giving there. Let's talk about Gemini for a few minutes. Gemini 1.5 was announced this week, and what's very interesting about this Gemini 1.5, there's two key things that you need to know. One, the number of tokens that they are opening the door to with Gemini is really incredible. Now, this isn't for everybody. There is some limitation for how much you can actually use. And if you want to do the 1 million tokens, you have to go get AI Studio and use Vertex AI in preview. I just signed up for Google Cloud this week. I told you I built that solution with Perplexity and listening to the microphone. The interesting thing with Vertex AI is there's a whole bunch of solutions that are behind that. That is a deeper extension of Google's Auto ML that would actually develop models for you given a pipeline of data. So, this may be something that's new to all of us that have been playing in the at-home space or the individual space. Make no mistake, okay, this Gemini offering is not something that is totally new to Google. Google has been doing lots with AI over time. So don't get the confusion that this is somehow Google trying to catch up to ChatGPT, because I really see this as the way that Google is approaching the problem. And looking at some of the analysis of some of my friends in the AI space, one of the folks that I really give a lot of deference to in his perspective, um, when we look at what Google has done with the Gemini, like when I showed the email integration, the fact that I can go to Gemini and ask it to search through my email, and it's able to load in all of those messages as a part of giving the response. That is a huge retrieval augmented generation capability that they've turned on. And the theory is that Google's approach to things has been leveraging all of the data that they already have access to. So when we're talking about the access to that information, it looks like a lot of the AI solutions they've built are leveraging that full data ecosystem, not just starting with the large language model like ChatGPT. But one of the things I want to highlight here is that Google is really talking about Gemini 1.5 being more efficient, and it has a mixture of experts architecture. And I really see this as the future of large language models. If you look at some of the opinions of the experts in AI, there's a lot of deference given to these solutions that allow you to optimize in a single solution, but then bring them back together for a more general intelligence solution. And that's kind of what I see happening here with the mixture of experts, because you can optimize subparts of the model, but still get a full general intelligence solution brought together by leveraging that mixture of experts capability. So I am really excited about the announcement that Google made this week. And over the last couple of weeks, I said, look, Google is not sitting around. They are absolutely going to make some incredible progress this year. This is faster than even I anticipated they would be making forward progress. 1.5 Pro comes with 128,000 tokens. That is more than enough to include a lot of documents. And I think we're getting to a point where it's going to be interesting. Do you need to build a RAG solution with the likes of Pinecone and LangChain, or do you just drop the documents that matter to you in an individual chat session? I think we're quickly getting to a point where that might actually have to be an active decision that you make going into it. I do think the vectorization of data and building vector databases is still the solution. If you have a ton of data, that is the solution today. But as these solutions continue to scale, that might change in the future. And so as they're looking at rolling out a 1 million token context window, now we're going to have some choices. And I think there's some very specific solutions that will rely on that in the future. They've talked a lot about their architecture. They've got some transformer things that they've done. They're really introducing some new things here that we haven't seen from some of the other large language model creators. Google is not sitting around, and this is really an exciting development. I think when we look at
long context understanding,
the context windows that they're able to build here,
Gemini 1.5 Pro.
if you need a simple solution for a single purpose, this is going to be incredible. And if you're able to identify a handful of documents, this is going to be much faster, and it's probably going to give you better results because those answers are already built into the language model, taking that in. And the more you can incorporate that in your prompt, the better results you're going to get. I think where this matters is we're seeing in the research papers that are coming out that oftentimes you're able to get a better answer by doing some prompt engineering instead of building a unique model. So I think when we are thinking about the architecture of the solutions that we're building, this is something you've got to consider as a possibility. one of the other things that Google has in their favor over the likes of OpenAI, while OpenAI has directly partnered with Microsoft to provide their cloud computing solution, Google doesn't have to make a deal. They already have all of that cloud compute, and they also have the tensor processing capabilities. And I think you're starting to see some of that here. Google is able to build their own custom compute that provides the underpinnings of these solutions. And I think we're starting to see the advantage of those solutions here with what they're building in Gemini 1.5. So if you have not signed up for Gemini, let me again encourage you, if you have a Gmail account, that's all you need to get started. It's very straightforward. You just go to gemini.google.com and they'll give you a sign up page. You do have to give them a credit card to start the solution, but they're giving everyone 2 months free. So if you're not already actively using one of these other subscriptions, definitely go turn that on. But if you have a subscription with ChatGPT, there's really no harm in turning this on and evaluating it for a few months. I really love the image generation capabilities that are built into this. So far, I'm really enjoying that. It doesn't have the same level of text integration that I've seen with Dolly. It does do it a little bit. And I was playing with, I was actually doing a lesson a few days ago, and let's see if I can find it here. Create a poster. Yeah, I really enjoyed doing this for a social media post earlier today. And where is, I'm trying to find it here in my history. Got a lot of previous make an image. No, that is not the one I'm looking for. Where did it go? So many discussions I have going on here. That I will say the interface is a little bit behind in terms of being able to find the solutions. I've gotten really used to Perplexity, and I can even search through my previous searches. That's really become a crutch for me because I can find what I'm looking for. ChatGPT, you have to go to the mobile interface to search through your chats. So we do have a lot of opportunity in the user interface side of things. But I created a poster earlier this week, and I'm not finding where my search is. Unfortunately, that's going to make it hard for me to share with you. But the poster, I had it create a movie poster, and it actually included some text in the generation of that movie poster. And that was pretty great. I was surprised to see that much text showing up. You see in the image that I created earlier. Oh, wait, there it was. There it is. So I told it to create a movie poster or something like the Singularity. Again, right, all of the words are not correct here, but it does have words included in what it's generated. So it does have the capability to do that. And it seems to do it less often, which I think is better, because if it's not going to be accurate, if it's going to generate garbage, I'd rather it just leave the words out entirely. So your mileage may vary there. Playing with Dolly and how it generates it has been kind of interesting, but I've found that to be an overexpression of imagery generation. But let's talk about, we've got about 15 minutes left here. I want to show off what what Nvidia did this week with their chat with RTX. And while I don't have the full document loaded here on this system, I do have it on the computer that I'm presenting on. So just to get a full evaluation of this, let me pull this up on the screen. If my video freezes, you know what? I'll just make it full screen for you and turn off. That turned off my audio. So let's see. I got to have a different view here. There's a button. I got to push the right button to put me in the right place. Here we go. All right. So chat with RTX. And what I did was I pulled in the documents that I was using for the GPT for All evaluation. When I did the video for GPT for All, I put a whole bunch of AI related books in PDF form into a folder, and I was asking questions with GPT for All. Now, this is using Mistral 7B, and I've not installed any other models. Honestly, I haven't figured out how to do that yet because I haven't spent enough time with it. But honestly, the results coming from Mistral have been very good. And let's ask some questions. I'm learning about neural networks and how we can use them to create intelligent AI solutions like computer vision and natural language processing. Now let's see what it does with that. I didn't actually ask it a question, but if my previous experience is any indication, we've got some really great PDFs in here. And so it actually pulled this directly from this PDF file. And if I pull that up, it will pull up the source book. It does not go to the page. So one of the things is we're getting an answer, but it doesn't tell us exactly where in that source file it's getting the information from. And I'd have to do a little bit of extra homework to go and find this paragraph in there. But let's just give it a shot. Let's see if we can do a search and find this answer by using a portion of the answer using good old search. Neural networks are a type of machine learning model. Change back here and we'll do search and see if this comes up in the document. It may not. Well, I may be really disappointed. Neural networks, just search inside the document here. Neural networks are a type. Let's see if it finds it. No matches were found. How about solve a variety of problems? It is not finding it. So, I don't know. We may have to look into this a little bit more. It is properly pulling from the PDF files that I gave it. So that is very encouraging. What is some Python code that I can use to create a linear regression? Let's see if it comes up with an answer on that. Now, this answer is absolutely right. Using sklearn linear model is correct, and it's using artificial intelligence with Python. So that is a reliable answer, and it is using the files that I gave it. This does not come exclusively from the model. It is very clearly using the data that's in those files. That's a pretty good, easy answer for a large language model to find. If I went and asked this in ChatGPT, I would very likely get a very similar answer that was generated by ChatGPT rather than simply out of a PDF file. I'm really excited about this because you can put a huge amount of data that is only on your local system and search with that. So if you're doing any kind of document search, if you're trying to build help libraries or consolidate information about a topic, this is really exciting. And you see, it's not slow. I am running an Nvidia RTX. It is a 36 8. Oh gosh, I'm not even sure anymore. I've kind of forgotten what it is. Here, we'll just pull up the old program here and see what the hardware is, because I've forgotten what it's called. 36. A little embarrassing that I can't remember what it is. 3060 Ti. So it is not the cutting edge that you'll see with a lot of the AI experts. It is, it's an older generation. It's the 3000 generation. The 3060 I bought because it was the most efficient available at the time. There are, of course, models that have come out subsequent to that that have more memory on board. My graphics card only have 8 GB of memory available, and when I'm using the solution, it is using all of that memory to work with the model. So there's not a lot of other things you can do with the computer when you're using these kinds of solutions. But I'm really excited about what Nvidia has provided here. I'm not super excited that it's 36 gigabytes in weight. You got to have some free space on your computer to put this together. But look, text, PDF, docs, and this is a 0.2 version. So this is almost like an alpha version. But Nvidia is the AI company right now. If you've seen their stock, you know they're doing very well selling hardware, very popular solutions, and they are making a mint with the GPUs that they sell and provide. So that is definitely something to consider going forward. Some really great answers there. Now, we do have a few minutes left here. I want to talk about Lepton. This, if you go out to GitHub, you can find their repo. It's at Lepton AI. And look, I'm super impressed with this. You can do the live demo, and they've made it available. This is very much like Perplexity, and they've got it deployed for us to play with. This is something I've got to spend a little bit more time on getting to know, but you know, the way that it does the sourcing and the answer is very interesting. And you can go and fork this guy, run it locally. It's got support for multiple LLMs. It goes straight from pip, so it doesn't get much easier in terms of, like, if you're into coding things, it doesn't get much easier than this. And you can connect it with various backends and use API keys. So if you're looking for something to play with, I think this is something that's probably going to be worth your time, because it's got a lot of extensibility and the UI is really good. I mean, honestly, that is one of the bigger challenges with these large language model solutions, is bringing up a user interface that lets you get to what you're looking for in the shortest amount of time. Obviously, this doesn't have the same level of catalog capability that Perplexity has. And that really is one of my favorite things about Perplexity. If you pull up the Perplexity AI website and create an account, it will do all kinds of really nice things for you on the back end. Of course, the Perplexity interface is going to be better than what's available here, but in terms of having something to play with, it's really great, and it's easy to use. It's fast with the API basis. So if you're looking for something to work on and you want to learn about building solutions, how the API integration works, I would definitely recommend you cut your teeth on this and go play with it. Some really great solutions. So with that, I really covered everything that I wanted to cover this week, but I do want to open it to questions. I've seen those of you popping on and off across LinkedIn, across YouTube, and across X. I really love doing these on a weekly basis, and I will keep them less than an hour. It's been great fun to put these together, but I know sometimes you have questions. I'd love to hear from you. If there's something you're interested about, maybe you see a news item during the week and you'd love to hear what I think about it, or maybe get a bigger demo put together with some analysis, I'd love to do that with you. I'm also always looking for ideas of videos to put together, both recorded and live. But it's just fun to get together and talk about these things. I hope you're enjoying what I'm putting out there. If you do like it, give me a like, give me a retweet if you're out there. Follow the channel on YouTube. And if you're on LinkedIn, share the video. There's so many great things that are out there. I really enjoy doing this, and I want to interact with you. If there's something we can do together, let's talk. Grab an appointment with me on my calendar. Let's have a conversation. I have coaching and courses that are available at ai-mistakes.com. So take a look at that if you're looking for ways to extend your knowledge and deepen your skill set in using and deploying these tools. We're at the very beginning of the journey, and I really do think that the phraseology I've seen of this is 1995, Netscape, the browser has been released, and the internet is yet to come. That's where we are with these solutions. There's a lot more to come, and the excitement is just getting started. So use this opportunity to go make some mistakes. We'll see you next time.